This is the KBIS series, recorded live from the KBIS podcast studio. The kitchen may be the heart of the home, but specifiers are the pulse of the profession. These are the inside stories, the decisions, strategies, and intelligence that turn ideas into incredible design. As hard as it is for me to believe, this is the final installment of the 2026 KBIS series. Incredible. This was so much fun this year. This is part 8, and this one is a bonus feature, and I hope you enjoy it because I think it's more relevant and important now than it was even just a few short weeks ago in February, months ago in February. Thriving in chaotic times, how designers stay grounded, profitable, and relevant. This is a candid conversation with interior designers, Arianne and Bellizaire, who you might remember last year was on a panel that I moderated at KBIS, and Sara, Malek, Barney, longtime friend of the show. And we're talking about navigating burnout, emotional labor, client management, and creative growth in today's unpredictable design industry, from boundary setting to decision fatigue, social media pressures, and sustaining ambition. This episode of the KBIS series explores the strategies and mindsets designers use to remain successful, resilient, and inspired amid market volatility, personal demands, and just all of the other chaos that exists and all the noise that exists out there right now. We talk about things like identity and evolution in design, burnout versus ambition, emotional labor and client management, social media and comparison culture, decision fatigue and process control, sustaining creativity, which is just so hard, and financial and business literacy, which is also another challenge. So in today's unpredictable design industry, thriving requires more than talent. It demands resilience, strategy, and self-awareness. And you're going to hear strategies and self-awareness. You're going to hear all of it coming up next, and I hope you enjoy it. And it was recorded live from the KBIS podcast studio, presented by AJ Madison and AJ Madison Pro. Oh, it's totally like, and then you get to wave at everyone as they walk by. How you doing? Hello, good to see you.
I'll be signing autographs later.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
It
Hello,
feels like
welcome.
being in an aquarium.
Welcome to KBIS.
Hi.
And then there's the guy that just walks by.
Yeah.
I'm going to ignore you. Don't ignore me.
This is great. People watching.
It's remarkable people watching,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, this is great.
I know. I love it. Hey. Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
How are we doing?
We're doing great.
So good.
So it was a year ago at KBIS,
Yes,
but it was in Las Vegas.
sure was.
We are in Orlando.
Yes, we are.
The Sunshine State.
This is great. The vibe this year has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It does seem like very energized this year. More so
Lots
than
of people.
maybe even last year.
Yeah.
Lots of activity.
So here's what I love to do. It's funny, it's kind of weird because we know each other so well, but I want you to introduce yourselves again, like always. And do you know why I do that? Because we're always changing. And I think that's part of what we're talking about today, but you kind of have to evolve and you have to change. And it's really fun for me to hear how people describe themselves now.
Yes, that's great.
Oh, cute. Okay, you go first.
Sure.
I'm not good at an intro.
No, this is great, and I'm glad you said that because I have introduced myself in the same way for, 10, 12 years. And recently I've had feedback from friends to say, well, you didn't say this and you forgot about that. And they almost will talk about me in a way that I would never describe. So I've been practicing it here at KBIS, and I would like to try it now.
Oh my God.
Y'all, I am not prepared. Y'all seem like ready
You
to
should
go.
also know I'm very dramatic.
I love that.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
I'm Arianne Bellizaire. I am an interior designer and a television personality, a lifestyle branding content producer, and I am exploring all of the ways that I want to take everything I've learned and bring it into a new, softer, slower life.
Holy cow!
Nice. That's nice.
Practicing.
That's really good.
By the way, you could do voiceover at like spas.
You know who could? Josh. Josh has the voice.
We both could.
Josh has the voice, but I'm also practicing the voice.
Okay.
You are so calming.
Well, here comes the tornado then.
We make a good team.
Okay. I have not been rehearsing. My name is Sara Malek Barney. I'm the founder and principal designer at Band Design. We are a high-end residential interior design firm. We have offices in Los Angeles and Austin, Texas. And I'm a mother to 2 crazy daughters.
Love it.
And they love when I mention them. So that's why they get looped into the intro now. And we work on homes of all sizes, from ground up to remodels to refurnishing, you name it. I also partake in the lifestyle space and capacity. I'm going to have to work on that a little bit.
You are so good at it too.
And I just love sharing design, life, tips, mom things, crazy things, all the things.
All the good things.
All the good things.
What we're talking about today is so important. When we started ideating sort of what our conversation was going to be about, I just wrote this sentence down, and it was thriving in chaotic times, how designers stay grounded, profitable, and relevant.
Oh, that's so good.
What I think sometimes, like everyone else, we forget at times who we are,
Yeah,
what we do, and what's important.
absolutely.
And we don't talk about it enough. Because, and I'm going to throw this out there, and I want your take in any order you so choose.
Okay.
Burnout is not a badge of honor.
Nope.
God, no.
No, it's
But we treat it like it is.
yeah. I think it's conditioning too.
Yeah, I think we like to. It's sort of like if I complain, then there's a sense of relation there and acceptance. Otherwise, it sounds like we're bragging, right? So it's like, oh, I'm burned out. Oh, I'm burned out. Yes. Oh, let's.
Like the competition.
We can be in this together.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And also, I feel like there's a generation that grew up in a time where your badge of honor and your credentials and your worth was tied to how hard you worked, and you had to actually earn rest. And so I think we've been conditioned and trained to lead with all of the things we've done to deserve whatever break we might be asking permission for, right? And the reframing that I think is happening now with not only how we watch younger generations, which we have our issues, we have our angst, because we're like, you guys are lazy. No, they're just, in some cases, they have healthier boundaries. They didn't grow up in the same pressure cooker environments. They don't tie their worth to what, how many hours they work the way we do. And I think watching them and also feeling the impact of that burnout, the health implications, the inability to scale and grow because you are incapacitated, all of those things is making us rethink, what does it really mean? Is it really worth it? In many cases, we're saying, no, it's not worth being burned out. We need to figure out the balance. We've got to figure out how to be successful without feeling like, we're pushing ourselves to the limit and really going to do harm to our bodies that in some cases may be irreversible.
Oh, but you nailed it with the boundary piece, because you're right. That's a hard thing, especially older generations and me being an old gal. Setting boundaries doesn't necessarily come naturally. You're told to say, yes,
absolutely,
I'm going to work my butt off. And that means maybe in some capacities not setting those boundaries. And I think that's really dangerous. Yes. I've gotten really good, I think, at boundary setting, but it is something that is very much a work in progress.
It's a muscle.
Absolutely.
For me, that I've had to really train. Just the way you work out and you build muscle with strength training. For me, as a recovering people pleaser, I have had to learn the muscle of no is a complete sentence. Because the first phase was no, but let me like say all the reasons why you should agree that it's a no. And now it's like, no, that should be enough that I said no.
Well, therapy
Period.
helps too.
Well, yes. Listen. At the same time, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
Or working that muscle group. Let's do this. Chaos in the past, I think, has been viewed as a strength training exercise, right? But I also think that we don't name the chaos. We don't talk about it. We just keep plugging away,
Yeah.
right? So let's do that. I want to throw a few things at you, and I want you to name it for me, and I want you to talk about it. First one is market volatility and budget anxiety,
Chaos. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And especially now.
Especially now.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for 2026 quite yet. I feel like it's gotten slightly better than 2025, but there's a lot of question marks.
Yep.
We've had clients reel back budgets pretty substantially. I mean, it is real because we don't know. We had one client, they called us at one point and they said, well, I just looked at my portfolio and the design's great. We're going to wait a year to order everything, and that's happened more than once. It's real.
We certainly have seen the impact with projects. And I think that to the question you're asking about the chaos is created when we feel like there's uncertainty that we can't explain or get our hands around. That's what feels like chaos. It's not necessarily a thing, because if there's something we're experiencing that's a challenge, but we know how to get out of it, which we do for our clients all the time. The clients might feel chaos, but we are certain because we know the path, right? The reason this scenario feels like chaos and market volatility is because we don't know what to say. We don't know what the answer is. We don't even actually know the impact. It's a lot of rumor right now.
Yeah.
And that's what feels chaotic. It's like what's sure ground and what's not. That is why we don't have sure footing and we feel like we're in chaos.
I mean, that was, though, a little bit of the good news about it. And like even during COVID when nothing was available, it was like, well, I wish I could help, but
Right.
I literally can do nothing.
I can't do
So
anything.
at least you can't be mad at me.
Yes.
And the thing about COVID and the pandemic was that we were all united in the same thing. And
Shared
I
experience.
can't think of another time in my life, maybe 9/11,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? But I can't think of another time in my life when that was present.
That's right. Shared experience. Everyone's going through the same thing. And what I have observed about myself, and I think some designers can relate, is I often put myself in the place of being the liaison, the explainer, the advocate, the communicator of all of the things and perspectives for the client, so that they can feel comfortable. And I will bear the pressure and weight of figuring it all out. When you have something like COVID happen, there's actually, this is really weird to say, a relief in it. Because like you said, it's the first time I'm giving myself permission to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Versus, you kind of like everything else, you're training yourself to be calm and be the expert and to tell them, I can figure it out. Well, this is something I can't figure out. This is something I don't know.
But don't you, I mean, not to derail this, but don't you think it's so funny how, as designers, it's become our job almost to be the one to always have the answers, and I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I do.
Such pressure. Okay, please tell us, because it's a lot of pressure.
Is it because we're nice?
No, it's because you accepted it.
I know.
And because you asked for it, and I can't tell you, this is a huge thing, and it goes into my next point. So I'm gonna put the two points together. The next one was social media comparison styles.
Yes.
Okay, or cycles rather. So designers accepted that role. Like if you talk to an architect, and you and a client throws a contrary idea out to an architect, they will look you in your eye. They will be very calm. They will be assured of themselves, and they will tell you no.
You're so right.
Yeah.
But you ask a designer will look at you, you can see the wheels start to turn, and you can see the creativity start to bubble up, and they're like, well, I can't do that, but here's something that we could look at, and here's what I can do, and here's what I can do. And the client will then believe it's like, oh, well, there's options. If you had said no at the very beginning, you wouldn't have to deal with that.
I have to think that this is part of the reason in the interior design industry, it became so commonplace to share discounts.
Yes.
Which makes me insane.
Yeah.
And so I think, it's like we were all pleasers. We wanted people to say yes. We were scared to talk about money. We were scared of losing clients. So we just said yes, and we just
Listen,
did everything.
I think that that's part of the competition cycle. You've never, like builders don't have that conversation.
Never.
No.
And by the way, they don't share their trade discounts with you.
Never.
They also don't share them with their clients. If
But
they need
no
to,
industry does that.
if they need to, they'll leverage back
They sure will.
in certain ways. But it's interesting. Like social media is a great example. Designers will share all kinds of social media slop. I'm a woodworker and I work with epoxy. If you go to your social media scroll, if you go to your Instagram feed and you scroll through, you will start to see these epoxy projects where there's like a table and they're pouring in the epoxy, or they pour it into an entire room and then they put things on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then, you seen them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's-
And now my feed's going to be all of them because my phone hears
That's
you say
exactly
yes.
right.
But that is not only not possible, it's not real. And by the way, you can tell because the people usually have 6 or 8 fingers on one hand. but I bring up the epoxy
Yeah.
because like making a table out of epoxy that's 6 inches deep, it would weigh hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
pounds. It would take a decade to cure.
Yeah.
It's not, it's intelligently you can look at something and go, oh, that's slop.
Yeah.
Like that's not real. But then a client will come and a designer will say, okay, well, I don't know. Let me research that and find it. It's no. The answer's no.
Yeah.
Say no.
Yeah. You know,
I should definitely do that because I don't bill hourly, so I should definitely say no right away.
True that. Same. There's no excuse. Like it's kind of like being in therapy where you just told us, like you told us what we needed to hear. But what I can reflect on is always kind of owning the identity of not only am I a designer and creative, but by virtue of being a creative, I'm empathetic. That's the way I've always framed this need to be the communicator of all of the perspectives and things, right? And being accepting of collaboration with the client versus telling them. Because I felt like the empathetic part of me sees so many parts of this process where they don't get a voice that I felt compelled to be that bridge where I'm like, this is your home, your experience, and I want you to feel like you have some ownership. So I can see how that's a double-edged sword, right? Because I'm not saying no, I'm creating the space, but I'm also now starting to bear the responsibility. And as you pointed out, I can think about whenever anything goes wrong with the contractor, he doesn't get a phone call, get lit up. It's me. Hey, the contractor didn't call me up. He didn't show up. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like thinking to myself, what does that have to do with me?
Exactly.
But the reality is I'm the person that's created the safe space for them to dump all of the issues on.
And I'm wondering too, is there a way to still deliver it, but not own it so that it owns you?
I'm sure there has to be. I'm sure there has to be a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it goes back to that whole boundary setting, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm very strict about the boundaries I set. Clients don't get my cell phone number. I don't talk to them on weekends. I don't talk to them after hours. And I think with that kind of comes sort of like an understanding that I'm on your team, but at the same time, these are 2 different buckets, and you cannot blame me for this thing down the road that happens with the contractor. It doesn't always work, but that's sort of the idea behind it.
Yeah.
There is some space between us, and I don't become their best friend.
Yeah.
Decision fatigue.
It's actually my favorite thing.
It's not mine.
It is mine. I'll tell you why. Well, with clients, it is mine because we have selected items very specifically that we know will work in their project. If they start to get fatigued, we know we can take the wheel and deliver them something good, and we don't have to belabor it, and they trust us at that point, and we get to then sort of run with it. So we get a little bit more creative freedom when a client gets decision fatigue.
That's a great way of looking at it. I receive that as there are projects where we know our process. We know we're going to guide them through the journey of this design. We know we're going to put forth concepts and palettes and just kind of baby step them into yeses. And I find that for some clients, they create decision fatigue because we've shown them how we're going to lead them, and then they will second guess themselves.
Yes.
They'll say, I love that pillow, I love that sofa, I love that space plan, blah, blah, blah. And then a day later or 2 days later, they'll say, Are you sure? I don't know. I was talking to my mom and my sister, and we were in bed reading, through your documents again and and they will actually ruminate on decisions we've actually already made. That's when it becomes fatigue for me.
That I agree with. That is more like second guessing and not trusting us in the direction we're
or
rowing.
Themselves.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah.
I think trusting
and then
me.
they're mad at us at the end.
Oh, they're always mad. It's always me. But because I know you don't forget your point. But what I find fascinating is often I understand that my role and responsibility is to get you to learn to trust me. It's why my process is set up the way it is. It's where I'm trying to be as accommodating and listen. But what I also need is for you to trust yourself, because I'm responding and delivering a concept based on what you told me you need, the function, and what you like. If you start waffling on those pillars,
then you didn't communicate
then everything
clearly.
crumbles. And so I'm going back to you and I'm saying, remember, we decided this space plan was the best because you said.
Okay, so that leads into my point. What would happen if you worked change orders into your contract?
I think that would help. Because they would have a second thought about whether or not they want to change, because there's a cost, there's a penalty to that.
I mean, our scopes are pretty tight, so that includes changes. If there's changes beyond scope, then no, you're saying no?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to distract you. I'm saying that you're right.
Yeah.
Because you've accepted that.
Yeah. So another bill's coming. Well, yeah, another bill's coming. If you keep changing, another bill's coming.
No, here's my question, and I'm just drilling down again because we're in such a unique industry, right? And if you're working with a builder, and you make a selection based on the scheduling, you make a selection. If you change it, there is this cost. That it's not a question. It's like, hey, I want to change something, and they're like, no problem,
right?
Because they know that there's an added cost. It doesn't cost them more to do it.
Yeah.
They've just established a barrier. So if you said, hey, listen, it's in the scope, and I don't know, I'm just asking, it's in the scope of what we do. If you choose post this date after we make our specification selections, I go to work and put my team to work. If you choose that and want to go in a different direction, it's not a problem. You're going to be charged $250 for it.
We do have something like that we have over the years established, and it's kind of a compromise. We say we're doing a lot of exploratory learning. We are never presenting you a full concept or even an item. We're saying, do you like these colors? Do you like? We're drilling down. But once we present the concept, that you get a first pass at revisions.
Yes.
If you lock in and say, yes, here are my revisions, we make the changes, that's the lock design. If you want to change after that, yes, there is a fee at the hourly rate, because it's flat fee, but then we go hourly for those changes. I find that most times that's enough of a deterrent, but then it goes back to you are also establishing a relationship long term, and it's like, gosh, okay, if that client is really having ulcers at night over the shade of that pillow fabric, am I willing to fall back and say, I just changed the doggone pillow?
Yes, but I'm curious. Then doesn't that become your choice?
Yeah.
And thereby you're building the relationship, you're strengthening the relationship, and you're relieving yourself of that burden.
Yeah, yes.
I think it's so fluid. Like, you're right. I'm not going to nickel and dime and say, like, here's an hourly bill for us changing the pillow fabric, but you want us to change the entire selections of the room.
Yes.
We had a client who wanted us to do a very dramatic 14-person dining table, and they gave us a budget of $75,000, and we worked night and day trying to figure out the specific design. And by the time we presented it, they said, we don't want to spend $75,000 anymore. Now we want to spend $20,000.
No way. That's
okay,
a whole
well,
different...
now we need to get into reselections, and you're going to be billed hourly for that time. Just so you know, that's fine. And so it's some decisions don't make any sense.
Yeah,
but
that's a big, scope change as well.
Yes. Yes.
Well, and that dovetails into this next idea that I wanted to throw by you, is the emotional labor of design work.
First of all,
And there's no credit given for emotional or artistry.
that's why I want to give you, can we just do a little... for you using the term emotional labor, because that is the unsung hero of what we do, there are a lot of things. We started this podcast by you saying, I want you to describe yourself, right? And the words we use to describe ourselves. Think about what we say when we describe what we do. We talk about the transformation. We talk about the physical aspects of how we convert, a plot of land to a beautiful home or a room to a renovated space. We don't talk about the thing that actually makes it work, which is that emotional labor for everyone involved. Mm-hmm. It goes from internal, our team, the emotional labor as the creative director and lead, to tell my team, this is what we need to do, this is how we need to move, this is the standard that we're setting, and this is the direction for that design. It's the emotional labor of those clients, letting them have the space to have emotions and thoughts and second thoughts. And then it's the emotional labor of the people we work with to execute. The contractor, like, hi, here's your coffee, and are you good today? Did you read the documents? Do you have any questions?
You're way nicer than me.
Cabinet guy, like, yes, that's off by a quarter minute. That will make a difference. We can't just put a filler, but let me make it your idea to come up with the solution. Because I want you to be happy. Maybe it's just me. I think I need therapy. I think that's what we've determined here.
You're way too nice.
Well, and again, dovetailing this idea into, and I want your compare and contrast. Burnout versus ambition.
Oh, well, okay. So I do think there is a difference in the sense that, like, with burnout, it's very much almost like you're doing too much. And my therapist and best friend, ChatGPT, reminded me of this recently, where I was like, oh, I don't really need to hire this X, Y, and Z person. I could take on that labor. I could do it. And it said to me, no. You're trying to be the CEO of your company. You taking on this admin work that, you could technically do and find maybe another hour in the day to do it. Yeah. Yes. But is that really the brand you're looking to build? Is that really the direction you're looking to go? I know Chad. Chad's good, right? I was like, you're absolutely right, because what would have happened is I would have not hired that person. I would have tried to do it myself, and I would have burned out.
Absolutely
and the output would not have been high quality. It would have been just getting it done. So I think there is a difference, and that's where the difference lies for me, is where's the energy being put.
And someone said this to me, and it's so profound. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
That's right.
Especially if it doesn't align with your ambition and aspirations. So the burnout, to me, becomes a point of contention with ambition when you lead with doing things that you can do, but that drain you, versus putting and investing and prioritizing your work in the things that are your superpower, that actually give you energy, and that are the opportunities for exponential financial growth.
But I want to go back to the burnout as it relates to this emotional labor, because residential design is emotional.
Yes, it is.
And for better or for worse, that's actually what I love the most about it. I mean, as an artist, that's where I find my most joy. Otherwise, I would just be a commercial designer and just stamp out offices over and over. And so it is a roller coaster, right? And I do think when there is a dip in that emotional labor, that also is where burnout can come from. Yes. And you just feel like you're being beat up left and right over and over. You can never do anything right, or something's always going to go wrong.
Don't
no
get
matter
any credit for
how
what you
prepared
have done.
you are. Yeah. And so that can be emotionally exhausting over time and lead you to feel burned out.
Yeah. That's the times I felt burned out that I can think about in my career, is when, not that I was doing too much, but it was when I felt like I was letting someone down.
Totally.
Letting the client down, letting, whatever. And so I think those are the times when you feel that weight. And that's the burnout.
Yeah.
That's the burnout.
Yeah.
It's also this glamorization of ambitious and workflow and overworking yourself. I remember as a kid having this work ethic instilled in me. Yeah. Because my dad had it instilled in him, and his parents had it instilled in them. And it was just one of these things where even now, I think it's not exclusively, but I think it's a uniquely American thing.
Absolutely.
That nobody's going to beat the crap out of us like us.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're so right about that.
Yeah, no, I agree with the work ethic piece of it and sort of being told you need to just be working all hours of the day, all the time. And it is draining. I've gotten to a place where I don't do that anymore. And because I've learned that more output doesn't necessarily mean more input.
Yeah.
And there's not more money coming in because I'm working every hour of every day.
Right.
And so learning how, I hate the term work smarter, not harder. I hate that term. But it is a little bit like, you know what? I started this business. If I want to go play tennis
That's
at
right.
11 o'clock on Wednesday,
That's right.
I don't need to feel guilt about it. I'm still working at 8 p.m. that night.
Absolutely right.
But so it's sort of like learning to understand what we are entitled to, especially as business owners. I could go do this, and that's okay.
That's
Otherwise,
right.
I could go work in corporate America and,
Yeah.
be stuck to a Zoom meeting schedule over and over and
Yeah.
over. So there is some more flexibility in it than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you said. And I think that is one of the perks and benefits as business owners that we do not take that would offset all of the emotional labor and stress that we do take on as the person where the buck stops here. When we hire an employee, the first thing that they ask us about is compensation. And they ask us about benefits. And so we talk about the money, but they also want to know how many days do I get off and what is sick leave and all those things. They want to know what they get in exchange for their labor. As business owners, we don't necessarily treat ourselves that way if we aren't careful. We work hard, we take all of the crap, we pay for all the mistakes. We are unthanked. Most of the things we do,
Unpaid.
Unpaid. Some days we are not paying ourselves, and we forget that we could give ourselves the grace of time. We could say, I'm taking a day off, and I'm not. It's a complete no, a complete sentence. I don't have to explain it. It's a perk and a benefit that I get in exchange for all this other stuff that I'm doing as the business owner. That's absolutely
And the one
right.
thing you can't account for, though, is the invisible workload,
No.
which also goes hand in glove with creep.
Yeah.
You are listening to my conversation from KBIS, from the KBIS podcast studio, presented by AJ Madison, with Arianne Bellizaire and Sara Malek Barney, two friends of the show, and now friends of yours, with some great advice. We'll be right back.
AJ Madison Pro is the industry's trusted appliance source for professionals who need fast, reliable access to top brands. Backed by nationwide shipping and a powerful logistics network, delivery is precise and dependable. With over 150 premium brands, including Miele, Sub-Zero, Wolf, Cove, Viking, Thermador, Gaggenau, and more, AJ Madison Pro is your single source for appliance specification. Qualified builders and architects can save up to 15% on luxury brands through exclusive trade programs with registration handled for you. AJ Madison Pro, smarter appliance sourcing starts at ajmadison.com/pro.
Part of it is this acceptance of creep and scope creep and accepting new roles and responsibilities without being compensated accordingly.
Yeah. Yes, it happens to the best of us. And, you try to have processes in place. You try to have the conversations up front. But it always goes back to you having you can make the decision on how and where you want to adjust.
You have to stop being scared to talk about money is the bottom line. And I never have been, but I came from a sales background, and I have had people who've worked for me who've been like, can you just call the client about this bill? I'm too scared to. I just call. It's the money that they owe. This is not a weird thing to ask for. It's what they owe.
Right. And there's no other industry where they would be able to not pay because someone doesn't want to have a conversation with it.
Totally.
Part of the problem is I don't think we are fully authentic in our communications as an industry.
Okay.
You can, for example, if you go to Facebook, there is no shortage of groups that you can be a part of, right? And within these groups, someone will ask a question, and you will get this wide-ranging. The Dunning-Kruger effect is in full effect.
Yes, it is.
And there is no shortage of people who will give you their opinion.
Yep.
And their opinions are horrendous.
True.
Listen, by the way, third-year designers, I love you. I really do. And I can't wait to see what you do at 5 years. I can't wait to see what you do at 10 years. But at 3 years, you don't know enough to be answering questions about the industry.
That's
You
fair.
just don't.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I spent, design is a second career for me. I worked in the entertainment and sports industries for 15 years before I moved on. And I studied the industry a lot when I was starting my firm. And a big piece of it was there was no through line. Nobody did things the same way. And it drove me nuts.
I agree.
And I thought, how could one be most profitable? But two, if I were a client, what would I want this experience to look like? And instead of reading what everybody's opinions were, I just tailored my process to that.
Yeah.
And now it's very much the same as it has been since day one. It's changed very, very little, but it's, if I were a client, what would I want as the person hiring the designer?
Yeah.
And because I feel like some people just do it, like you said, wrong.
Yeah, or trying to...
Their horrendous opinion is incorrect, even though it's an opinion.
Look, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you're not careful, you will Frankenstein together a process based on little bits. If you're not careful, you will Frankenstein parts and bits of other people's opinions together to form your process. And I believe your process is strongest when it is really formed around your superpower. Mm-hmm. Like if you are at the center, your superpower, what you do and know you can deliver, and then matching that to the experience that you know your ideal client would want. That's how you think, and that's how you build your process, regardless of what everyone else, because there are no standards. There is no, this is how everybody in the world is billing and do. That's not. So if you know that's the case, now your job is just to find the right fit and solution for you that you can be transparent with and honest about and consistent with. That's the success.
Yeah, otherwise, you'll make yourself crazy trying to figure it out.
Every year you'll change.
And I bring this up because you had mentioned making collection calls. And in talking about third-year designers, it's not that they're third-year designers. It's that they haven't been in the business long enough to experience a wide-ranging gamut of issues. And oftentimes, like Sara, I know you and I have had this talk before, where we talk about coming from a different industry. Mm-hmm. I came from broadcast. When I first got started in radio, so mid-'90s, I was in Dallas, and I was a music rep. I was a music rep for a station called The Edge. Prior to that, I was with a station called The Eagle. And I used to have to go every Thursday night to this club in a terrible part of town off Harry Hines called The Rage. And every Thursday night, I would have to go and collect $2,000 for their next week's schedule on the radio station. Terrible neighborhood. Collecting $2,000. It came in cash.
Oh, no.
Out of the till.
No.
It came out of the register at 2 a.m. when they were closing.
Nope.
But that was my job.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do. And I did that for well over a year and a half, every Thursday night, at a club that I didn't want to be at until 2 o'clock in the morning to collect $2,000. If you tell that to one of your assistant designers, or here's how we collect, they would gladly pick up the phone and call someone if they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's all relative. It's all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my background, like I said, was in entertainment and sports, but a big portion of that was sales. And what does that mean? I'm working on commission.
Yeah.
And if I don't collect that money, I don't get to pay my mortgage or feed my children.
That's right.
So there was no option otherwise.
That's right. The stakes are high. And the connection that's sometimes lost between a designer who works for someone and is supporting someone is that they want to bring their creativity to the table, but they don't really understand the connection between creativity and business, the business owners, like profitability piece.
No, not at all. And I've had employees who worked for me who said, I'm not going to go ever start my own thing because they don't. And that's fine, because if everybody wanted to start their own design firm, then we'd have 10 million more than we already do.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I have people work for me now who I think very much just love being in a role of support where we're helping run this business, but we aren't the owners of this business.
And I love that they love that, and they're not going to
Same.
sit there and say, well, I would do it better and I'm ready to get my own place, and because that type of energy isn't helpful as well. So.
Totally agree. Yeah.
What do you do when you're languishing and you can feel your creative batteries running out, which is scary when you're in a creative industry and you feel the creativity starting to fade away and burn out, and it's like, well, what if I can't do this anymore?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Well, I come to things like KBIS. I honestly, I have recently been feeling a little bit bored, and I haven't seen anything new. I haven't seen anything exciting, and it's being around my peers, seeing new products, checking out all the different brands. I mean, education is a huge part of this job that I think is undervalued, and constantly putting yourself out into the world and not just sitting behind your computer all day long you're going to die as a designer if you just sit behind your computer all day long and don't get out and explore the world. And, the cliche response is also travel. Yeah. There's creativity always in travel. And so I get a lot from that too, much to the behest of my bank account.
Right. Same girl, same. You've learned I'm a bougie traveler too.
Yes. I want to be one day.
Right. I have felt that. And I know that the times that I've felt like my creativity was waning, one of the things that I was surprised was actually very effective was getting outside in nature. So about a year and a half ago, I started doing walks every afternoon. Really, because I was like, I probably should start doing something healthy. I was working so much that I didn't have time for the gym, and I felt like an easy thing to add was a daily walk. And I started doing it just to say I did it, and then I started falling in love with it because the fresh air, the Spotify playlist that I put together that I only got to listen to on the walk, so it was a treat. The things I would see, just observing birds and flowers. I didn't do it for creativity, but what I would find is on those walks, my mind would clear enough where then it would clear the clutter, and then by the end of the walk, I might have to do a voice note or a note because I had figured something out on a project, right? I'm like, oh, I don't know, that just popped in my head. We could do this, or what if I thought about this? Or it might not even be a project. It's this is a gap that I want to make a note on. The space, the time, and the nature, for quiet, is something that I have been surprised to discover has been effective for me in feeling that well.
I totally agree. I take long walks. I don't do it as often anymore because I've become a tennis junkie. So if I'm going to work out, I'm on the court. But I do. That was the biggest thing for me. That got me through COVID even. Taking long walks. I had the clearest thoughts. Yep. I figured out things that I made decisions to hire people that I didn't even have roles for. It does. It's amazing. Yeah, because I would do 3 or 4 mile, most days 4 mile walks. And the trick for a 4 mile walk is to walk 2 and have to walk home. That's the trick, okay? Not on the treadmill. You gotta go. Because the treadmill's so boring.
It's so boring. But what I would find is if it rained that day, I would be sad.
Yeah,
because I couldn't get my walk, and it was a non-negotiable. And to this day, most days I do a 3 mile walk, but that has stayed with me because it's so beneficial, and of course there are health implications as well.
Fascinating. So as a runner, you hit on the point-to-point principle. So as a runner, it is very easy if you're on a track and then you hit that spot that's by the car to be like, yep, I'm done.
Yeah.
But if you're on a 4 mile run and you're 2 miles out, you don't have a choice.
No,
that's right.
You don't.
That's right.
But what's interesting is I feel like that point-to-point principle is so important for the design community, any creative community really. Value judgment this statement. You have to put yourself out there in an uncomfortable position in order to grow, but at the same time, and I can't tell you how many designers, I would talk about going to this event or that event, and they would say, no, I don't have time. I can't do it. I don't want to spend the money right now. I can't afford to do it. Not that they couldn't afford to do it, but they're so busy and they have clients, they got a new project.
No one's that busy.
Right.
Well, but that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit is this self-busying, maybe on the wrong things.
Yes.
Yes, and I have been a proponent of that for sure. Listen, I live my life from a place of yes. I say yes way more than I say no. I think life happens to you when you say yes. And so normally, most cases, the worst that's going to come out of it is you'll have a bad time or you'll have a funny story to tell. But the best is something incredible could happen to you. And so to me, the pros well outweigh the cons. So I end up at a lot of events that I have no business even saying yes to, but then I meet amazing people. And I love actually stepping outside of my design bubble because it's so somewhat easy if we show up to network with one another, but it's like meeting people who, I don't know, are accountants or, are I don't even know. I don't even what are real jobs. I don't know. But whatever real job people have, but it's so curious to hear about their life experiences and what they've been through. I'm a big lover of knowledge in that way, and I love being out with people. But I also know that there are, true introverts who it is very painful and hard for them to do exactly what you're describing and going out and trying to think. I kind of see you have to get over yourself a little bit, but it's easy for me to say that as an extrovert.
Right.
Reinvention versus growth risk. And I will couch it this way. Back to anti-social media. If you go to your social media feed, you will find the accounts that they post 6 times a day.
I don't know how.
And they have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers and tens of thousands. Yeah, but the thing is, none of it's real.
I know. I struggle with that because there's a few people I sort of hate follow, and it's exactly that. And I'm like, ugh, but it's all bad content. Or it's like 1 out of every 10 is a good nugget. And so then I'm like, are we really living in this world where we need to put out so much garbage to get any traction? Like, it drives me a little kooky.
I don't think it's the world, but I do think it's the algorithm. I think it's people who, are creating and producing for the algorithm because they've figured out the number and the equation and calculation of how many times they're supposed to get people to see it and respond, hate or not. But then I go back to then why?
Exactly.
Like, what's the long game in that, right?
Well, and that's the thing. But it being not real isn't just referring or referencing the content. They don't have hundreds of thousands of followers.
No.
Right.
They have bots.
Yes.
They have paid bots. And everyone should know that it's real.
Yeah.
It's really not real. Those are
Well, I'll tell you why they do it. It's because you hear these stories on social media. Oh, you can make $10,000 a month being this person. You can make $20,000, and so they think, okay, if I keep going and going, I can make a living for my family. I can make all this money, and I get it because I'm not going to say I'm not somebody who makes money off their social media. I do, but it is definitely not my full-time job. It's an avenue of revenue for my business, but it's not the thing that's keeping the roof over our heads.
Right.
So I think there is the idea that maybe I'm going to be Alex Earl, or I'm going to be some big influencer, and if I just keep going, maybe something. And that's what they tell you to do: keep posting because it'll hit. Keep posting, you'll go viral. And TikTok's the worst with that. The worst with that.
And I think it goes back to what's the long-term strategy. If your long-term strategy is that you want to just be someone who pushes out content, then that's a choice. But I don't think that you could be, someone who's growing and running a busy, thriving design firm and do that.
Like, I don't think the content game is exhausting.
Hard, yeah.
And not to derail whatever, like this discussion and go into the social media piece of it, but there is a lot there's a lot about mental health struggles of top influencers being in this space, and both the hate that they get, the comments, all of that, but then the pressure of the constant chasing of content. I mean, it is
that's so true,
real. And I think about it from a sustainability standpoint. Like, if you do become very profitable or very strong social media influencer, you need to understand this could be very fleeting. Do not spend $1 of that money.
Yeah.
You save that all away, because this is probably not going to be your career for the next decade, 2 decades, whatever.
Yeah, everything changes, and you don't own it. You don't own that platform. So if it goes away tomorrow,
or if you get censored,
At the end of the day, the conversation here is about handling burnout. And being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. I love design, and I love designers, and that's why I started doing what I started doing as a content producer. And it's interesting to me because I kind of understand how designers feel now. So now everyone's got a podcast. And by the way, not only am I supportive of it, but I've coached people. Like, not for money. Like, I don't sell coaching. I'm just like, let me show you how to do this. Let me show you my workflow. Let me show you my rig. Let me show you my gig bag. Let me show you how I do what I do. But there are so many of them out there now that I've had a chance to get a vision from your perspective. A designer that isn't as good as you when you see them. You know that. No, you're laughing, but I don't need to tell you that.
It's subjective.
It's not subjective. It's really not. Because there is a skill set. And by the way, Picasso would look at someone else painting and just be like, okay, I'm gonna do me, and that's what made him so special, right? And that is the thing about unique and special designers and creatives of all types is you have what makes you special. You stay true to that, and I where I'm going is, as long as you're doing what it is that you love, and you keep watering the plant. You can be as successful as you want to be for as long as you want to be that successful. Doesn't mean you can't change. Doesn't mean you can't pivot. And sometimes I feel like there is a fear on the part of designers. I don't want to change. I want to just keep staying where I am. And I'm curious if you have ever found yourselves in that spot.
I haven't, but I also feel like that is a result of coming to this industry as a second career. I think that's what we all have in common.
Yeah.
There are transferable skills that we're bringing in. There's an outsider perspective that we're bringing in. And so it's almost like because we weren't baked in with the traditional route to design, we are able to see a bigger perspective of what could be. We don't, and I say we, maybe it's just me. I don't see a hard and fast one-way rule. And in fact, I look at some of the quote-unquote traditional ways of doing it, and I go, well, but why? Yeah. Like, has anyone ever thought of why do we do it that way, and why couldn't it be different? And I think that's one benefit that I've always said about our industry is for all the people who talk about being gatekeepers and not wanting people to come in who didn't go through that traditional path for whatever reason, I think the flavor that those people bring and the perspective they bring is what has actually kept our industry relevant. The business acumen of people who come in as former accountants, former attorneys, like the ones who came in understanding hourly rates and billable hours and how to say no and how to set boundaries. That mix into the gumbo, because I'm from Louisiana, of interior design is what keeps us relevant. So I have never felt like I have to stay fixed. In fact, I love that about design and entrepreneurship. I love the fact that I can look at a situation, look at the context, look at my zone of genius, my process, and always adjust incrementally, staying true to myself, but flexible enough to say, I'm going to make sure I can stay relevant and stay in love with what I'm doing.
I'm going to say something a little bit edgy here, but I think part of burnout, because I've experienced it myself, comes from not being well-rounded. And I say that because there was a point in my career where work was my only identity. And then come to find out I actually was unhappy in my marriage, and I was unhappy with my health, and there was a lot of things about myself that I had neglected. And then, my business suffered as I tried to come out of that. Once I realized that, going through a divorce, raising 2 kids, trying to get fit again. But I did the hard work at the behest of my business. But now I'm in a place where I'm in love. My kids are happy. I'm in the most in shape I've ever been in my life. And now I don't feel as much of a chokehold to my business as I did before. Yeah. And it's because I have these other buckets of my life that are full. They weren't before. And so then I put all those empty buckets into work, and that led to burnout.
That's such a good point and perspective. That really is, because we often are too close to it to see that, right?
It took failure, and it took mistakes, and it took a lot of scary moments to get there. But sometimes you have to step back for a minute. Yeah.
Fill your buckets.
Right. Fill your buckets.
You've pretty much answered it. I want you to come back after and follow up to this. But what means success?
Mm-hmm. To me today, I identify success as being able to get to work on the projects I love with the people, clients, team I love, I choose, like the family I choose, while also leaving the space to take care of myself and enjoy my life. And that sounds very simple, but it has not always been that way. It's been very off balance, the way you just described, for most of my life. But I am very hyper-focused now on saying, what that means is I look at how I can scale my team. And I say, you could have a team of 10, but that means you don't get to choose which project. You got to go out there and be the money maker.
Yeah.
Right? You got to work with people that you might not like. You got to work with clients on projects that you might not like. But now what I have prioritized is I want to work with who I love on the projects I love. And that's a small team that's nimble, but faithful and committed and credible. And that informs the work I get to do. And I also don't want to be tied to a desk, which I understand now the people management part took. That was the part of, right? Me clocking in, clocking out was because I was working for them. Mm-hmm. So now a small, flexible, remote team gives me the space to say today, last night I worked till 8. I was on my laptop. I'm going to sleep in. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the morning to go on my walk. And I'm going to, that is for me what I'm sitting in right now. And that I feel so successful. Where before I would have told you it would be, I'm going to be, a international award-winning designer, 80-100. I would have given you all these things that measure success. Now, I would never trade where I am right now for those things.
Yeah. I don't really actually know what success means. That's a kind of a moving target for me. But what I will say is, I'll give you a quick anecdote. We finished a project about a year ago. It's a wackadoodle house. It's unlike anything we've ever designed before. It's Crayola colors out the wazoo. But it was just on a home tour. And the homeowner was so excited. She wanted to be there for it. And I was kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, we have to be here for this. Get out of the house. But at the end, she and I could not have been more different of people. And I was probably maybe not the right fit designer for her, but we created something very beautiful together. And at the end, I said, thank you so much for opening your home. We finished a year ago. And she said, we created something very special together. And I wanted people to experience that. And I thought, that's it exactly. We didn't always get along. She got pissy with me about drapes a few times. There were things that happened along the way. Mm-hmm. But at the end, we created something special. It wasn't Sara, created something special. It wasn't her who created something special. But we created something collaboratively that her family treasures and adores and loves. And I was like, that's why I do what I do.
That's exactly right.
So,
I love that.
Yeah, that to me is success. That and flying first class.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Boy, there's really nothing like that, is there? Yeah. So fill your buckets.
Yes.
And love yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
And the rest will fall into place.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, self-love and mental health are the two most important things. Everything else can just go away.
Sounds so
at the end of the
simple.
day.
It sounds so simple. It's not. And don't let anyone pretend that it
That's
is.
exactly right.
It takes work.
Thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you for always having the best roundtable conversation.
Yes, I agree.
You really do.
So fun.
You're so sweet. You guys are the best.
She's the best.
Oh my gosh, whatever.
Well, I promised you a great conversation, and that's exactly what you got. Thank you to everyone who participated in the KBIS podcast studio this year, presented by AJ Madison. Marnie, thank you so much for helping me produce all of these episodes from the studio this year. Thank you, Leanne, and the whole team at Flying Camel for all of your help and support. Thank you, Emerald. Thank you, Rachel and Sean. Sean, thank you so much for all of your technical support. Just could not have possibly done it without you. Thank you, NKBA. And God, thank you, AJ Madison Pro. Thank you for sponsoring the KBIS podcast studio again this year. Just remarkable. And thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this series. Thank you to everybody who came out and participated in one way or another at the KBIS podcast studio this year. It was so much fun, and I cannot wait to see you next year. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.